Academy students, welcome to Hunger Games history. Today, we will enter a new era, the so-called New Age, starting with, of course, the iconic 11th annual.
As expected, they do everything in their power to keep any memory of her erased. So much that by now, you won't even find any files relating to that year. The 10th Annual Hunger Games. Everything about it was deleted, though there are rumors about a single copy retelling the events being kept under lock and key. Though there was one thing they could not account for, those who were watching at the time. It's true, we were few in numbers. Access to a television was scarce after all. But we were out there, and knowledge was passed down. Why were the records deleted, you ask? There were a lot of important people involved, and lots of variables they could not control. And you know how much they love control. We'll have to start right at the beginning. So, about that year, for better or worse, that was when everything began to take shape. As I assume you have learned, the ratings were at their lowest point. Very few people cared about the games by then, and the cancellation was in the talks. In a pathetic attempt to make the games more interesting, the head game maker herself, Dr. Vilumnia Gall, collaborated with this very academy in order to bring some changes to the model. The most prominent one was the introduction of a mentoring system, where 24 of this academy's best students were selected with the purpose to guide their tribute in the capital, or better said, to help sell them to the audience. And oh, how they came to regret that decision. It all began in 12, when the Reed Girl, a snake, and a song brought all eyes of the capital to this district for the first time. Each of the academy students were assigned a specific tribute to mentor, and Coriolanus Snow was paired with this intriguing girl named Lucy Gray Baird. The tributes were brought to the capital in the usual cattle car, but this time they were delivered to the capital zoo, with visits by the capital citizens being encouraged. It was already then that things started falling apart. One of the mentors, which I've heard was from the Crane family, after taunting their tribute with food through the bars, had her throat slit open by the girl, a pig farmer from District 10. Of course, the girl was shot dead right after. Now, their incompetence was slipping not only through dead tributes before the games even began, but mentors too. Blood from the capital. After so many promises about this year turning out better, you can imagine how pathetic this was. But then again, it was only a couple of deaths. Panem Academy, that's how the saying goes. And Coriolanus Snow knew it well. Leaving no time to mourn, he knew exactly how to distract the citizens by proposing a betting and sponsorship system to be implemented in the games. Dr. Gall also wasted no time. She intended to put it into practice that same year. And when the funeral for that Crane girl was held, they paraded the corpse of that District 10 pig farmer like a trophy of a hunter. Speaking of bad ideas, for the first time ever, tributes and mentors were given a tour of the arena before the game started. All that to talk strategy, as if there was any strategy to talk about. They were caught in a surprise bombing of the arena building, and then blamed it on us, as if we had any intent to hurt our own people. Both tributes from District 6 died when the bombs fell, while the tributes from District 1 were shot dead by peacekeepers as they tried to make a run for it during the aftermath of the explosion. Only the boy from 2 was able to escape, but the fate that awaited him was far worse. 2 of their dear mentors were also killed in the explosion, while many others had to be hospitalized. So did some of the surviving tributes, but those were directed instead to the care of the Department of War's veterinarian, as a request to be treated by a doctor was denied. To the surprise of no one, that was the end for both tributes from District 9. While the fallen mentors received the proper funeral, once again, the dead tributes were paraded around the capital. This time, their bodies thrown over the backs of horses, or dragged behind them. At this point, before the games even began, 8 tributes were already dead, and so were 3 capital citizens. You would think that they would cancel the event then and there. After all, no one was really interested in watching the games by the 10th year. But the people are lured in with new and shiny things, and for the first time in the history of the games, an interview with the tributes and their mentors was held. From those who accepted to be interviewed, most showed off how the industry of their district could favor them in the games, like which kind of weapons they were skilled with. Lucy Gray instead stood out by singing a song called the Ballad of Lucy Graybeard. What a voice she had. Just before the game started, the boy from District 5 passed away at the animal pen due to asthma complications that the veterinarian could do nothing about. As such, only 14 tributes were brought to the arena. But remember the boy from 2, the one who managed to escape? Other tributes found him hung from a pole right in the center of the arena, so battered and bloody, one could only assume they were displaying his corpse as a warning to not deny the capital. But no, the boy was still alive, tied up and defenseless, left there to be killed. The arena was now different, with the bombings opening access to an underground tunnel system. For the first time, tributes now had a chance to hide, and after everything that happened so far, more than ever it was clear that most tributes did not want to fight. Some grabbed weapons from the pile, but no one attacked each other, instead running straight to the gates that led to the tunnels. Only Reaper, the boy from District 11, intended to start a fight, but unable to find anyone around, for the moment decided to climb up the stands. Half an hour passed with no action, until Amina, the girl from District 7, came out of the hiding to grab a couple of weapons, with which she ended the suffering of the poor boy from District 2. A likely act of mercy that was celebrated as the first kill of the day, bringing in the action the capital so craved. Lamina also became the first tribute in the Hunger Games history to receive a sponsored gift, a system that was implemented that same year, allowing mentors to send supplies to their tribute using the funding they raised through the sponsors. However, the technology at the time was not there quite yet, and the first attempt at delivering a bottle of water ended with a drone crashing and the bottle destroyed. After that, not much happened for a long while. With access to the tunnels now open, most tributes spent their time away from the cameras, leaving game makers wondering what was going on, and of course, viewers losing interest. With the games also dragging longer than expected, and dead tributes not being removed from the arena, all they had to watch were vultures, entertained with Marcus's body. Cirque and Tesley, the District 3 duo, made it out of the tunnels in the evening. They examined the fallen drone that delivered the water earlier and managed to turn it back on, a moment in which both also received sponsored gifts. This sparked some interest among the audience, wondering what they were up to. Each collected the drone with them before going back into hiding. Right after, Reaper, from 11, also appeared on the scene, in his arms carrying Dill, his district partner. Dill suffered from tuberculosis, and no one had expected her to even make it this far. Reaper laid her down in the sun and spent some time with her before leaving. Her mentor attempted to deliver some water, but it was snatched by another tribute, the boy from 7. Moments later, Dill convulsed and was pronounced dead. Night soon fell in the capital, and with nothing more than moonlight illuminating the arena, it's hard to tell what happened next. Because, once the sun shone again, the District 8 tribute, Bobbin, was lying dead on the floor. No one knows exactly what happened, though the rumors claim that someone from the outside had tampered with the games. Only by the afternoon of the second day did the other tributes come out of the tunnels. They were the District 4 tributes, Coral and Mizzen, who came up to collect food and water gifted by their mentors. They were accompanied by Tanner from District 10, who seemed to have formed a pack together with them. They went back to the tunnels, and only came up to the surface once they heard drones entering the arena again. This time, delivering food to Sol, the girl from District 5, who was on the bleachers at the far end of the arena. The trio chased her until they were able to surround Sol, at which moment Coral stuck her trident into the girl's throat. It was only a few hours later, in the evening, that Lucy Gray made her first appearance back from the tunnels. She seemed to be running away from something as she sprinted out of the tunnel at full speed. Just moments later, Jessup, her district partner, staggered out of the same tunnel, chasing the girl. It was clear that Jessup was not okay. We could see it in the way he moved, but even more clear was the foam bubbling out of his mouth. Rabies, a bite mark to the neck received just a few weeks prior, had quickly put him in this condition, now had him attempting to get to Lucy Gray at all costs. Rabies patients have an aversion to water. Jessup and Lucy Gray's mentors, knowing that, worked together by delivering multiple bottles of water to the arena in the hopes of helping the girl, since it was already too late for the boy. In an attempt to escape the supply-carrying drone, Jessup tripped forward as he ran down the stands, falling to his death. By the morning of the third day, 10 tributes were still alive. Reaper, from 11, had made a temporary pact with Lamina, the girl from 7, who had been perched on a beam all this time, occasionally coming down to collect food and water from sponsored drones. After pointing out to Lamina how the strong sun had been taking a toll on her skin, he proposed to trade some of her food for protection against the sunlight. And what did he do that could help her, you ask? The boy ripped apart one of the large capital flags decorating the walls of the arena, carving it into a blanket. You can guess how the citizens watching reacted to that. I bet it was quite entertaining. Shortly after the exchange, the pack of Coral and Mizzen from District 4 and Tanner from District 10 resurfaced again. Lamina pointed out the danger to Reaper, who thanked her before retreating. However, it seemed like the pack only wanted to target her. Tanner took care of the tridents and guided them, while Coral and Mizzen, with freed up hands, climbed up the beam. Having to pick between who to fight first, Lamina swung her axe at Coral as she climbed up, hoping to knock her down. While Coral had to retreat, Mizzen managed to get up. Lamina clearly had better balance, as the two swung their weapons back and forth. But now, uninterrupted, Coral also caught up. It was all over for Lamina. Tanner threw Coral's trident up. She caught it with ease, and with no time wasted, stabbed the District 7 girl in the abdomen. Lamina fell off the beam, dying on impact. As the pair were climbing down, Tanner, seeing the body not too far from him, performed some kind of dance over the body. Something that likely did not amuse Coral, as she followed by striking her trident into his back with little to no hesitation. As Tanner fell to the ground, Mizzen, who at this point had his knee injured by Lamina, after a poor trident throw from Tanner, impeded him in the fight, then finished the job by stabbing him in the neck with a knife. With this hit-and-run tactic working so well, the District 4 duo retreated back to the tunnels. Once the coast was clear, Treach, from District 7, came out of the hiding to snag Lamina's axe for himself. Tesley, from 3, also made another appearance to collect more fallen drones. Not much else happened until later, when Reaper came back to the center of the arena to see both Lamina and Tanner dead. Then, something unexpected happened. The boy lifted Lamina up and carried her to lay closer to Bobbin and Marcus, doing the same with Tanner, Dill, and Sol. To insult the capital even more, He even dared to cut off a second piece of their flag, draping it over the bodies he had arranged in a row. The makeshift blanket he had crafted for Lamina now rested on his shoulders, looking like a cape. Now, it was on day 4 that things started to get interesting. It seemed that all the changes implemented this year in the format of the games had come to fruition. Here and there, people sporting t-shirts in support of their favorite tributes and mentors, when normally no one even cared to learn their names. Wovi, the girl from District 8, made her first ever appearance since the beginning of the games. All skin and bones, since the drones could not make it into the tunnels. Her mentor quickly managed to deliver some food the second she came out of hiding, but it was seemingly too late. The girl used the last of her strength to open a bottle, and once she finally did, she could only manage a few gulps before passing away. Of course, the majority assumed it was a pre-existing condition, coming from the districts in such a bad state, made worse by the lack of food or water. But there were a few that caught it, and were able to connect the dots. As Wovi passed, a strange silverish liquid oozed out of her mouth. That certainly had to mean something. And surely some of the tributes also made the connection. Reaper, who came to collect Wovi's body to add it to his morgue, had also noticed the liquid in her mouth, making him immediately drop the apple he had collected from Wovi's sponsored gift, but given no chance to enjoy. Despite not having received any food from his mentor, and likely being starved, he refused to eat or drink anything, knowing that she was likely poisoned. But how? The only time something similar happened in the games, it was all inside the animal pen, and measures had been taken to ensure it would not happen again. And after what happened in the 3rd year, tributes were also thoroughly checked before reaching the capital. Who could have access to any sort of poison in the capital? If the rumors were true, it had to come from someone other than the tributes. Of course, once Coral and Mizzen came by and did not even think twice about devouring Wovi's food, the thought of poison likely did not even cross the capital's mind. But there is a huge difference here that one could easily miss. Reaper, being from District 11, likely was familiar with the effects of poison, not only from inedible parts of fruits and crops, but also the methods used to get rid of pests, such as rats. Most capital citizens would not make that connection, and even if they could, they had more distractions keeping their attention. It was on this day that the head game maker, Dr. Vilumnia Gall, announced the death of Gaius Breen, mentor and student who had been severely injured in the bombing of the capital arena. Once again placing the blame on the rebels, Gall made it clear that the story would not end here. After all, it's all fun and games for the capital until it's one of them who dies. Back in the arena, a huge drone flew in carrying a massive tank containing rainbow-colored snakes, Dr. Gall's most recent invention. At the time, Reaper was up in the stands. The District 3 tributes were in the center of the arena, scavenging for parts, and Treach, from 7, was also out in the open. The eyes of all tributes were immediately drawn to the tank, not sure of what was going on. After all, this came to be the first time ever in the history of the games that mutations were released in the arena. The tank burst open, and snakes flew out in all directions. Treach immediately climbed up the stands, while Teslie made it to one of the poles. Cirque, however, was unlucky enough to trip, and in a matter of seconds, the snakes got to him. The audience watched in horror as Dr. Gall explained with a smile how the snakes were bred to hunt humans, and that a fully grown one would have no issue climbing up to get other tributes. The snakes soon got into the tunnels, flushing Coral and Mizzen out. While Mizzen managed to climb one of the poles in time, Coral had already been bitten by one of the snakes, and others soon followed suit. With no more targets on the ground, the reptiles gathered under the pole where Tesley's grip was about to give out. Surely she would be the next one falling, if it weren't for what happened next. Lucy Gray emerged from a tunnel, singing a song, with dozens of snakes following her. This time, however, the snakes were not mindlessly hunting like they did with the other tributes, but instead seemed to be in a sort of trance. It was right there, in front of everyone, being broadcast to all of Panem. Solid proof that someone from outside was cheating. But you know how the capital is, and of course, snakes, an animal so obviously known for their good sense of hearing, were simply hypnotized by her voice. That makes perfect sense. It was what everyone assumed, and who are we to question it? Now, all the snakes scattered around the arena were making their way to Lucy Gray, allowing Tesley to leave her pole and make a run for the stands. With nightfall came rain and thunder, forcing some of the tributes back to the tunnels. The temperature had also dropped enough that the snakes did not survive the night. The next morning, food was sent to the 3 tributes at the surface, Treach, Mizzen, and Reaper, who after likely remembering Wovey, decided to ignore the food. Instead, he came down the stands to drink some water from a puddle, before collecting the 2 newest bodies to add to the rest. Then something quite fascinating happened. Tesley, from District 3, had come back holding a drone she had been modifying. Managing to make it fly while tethered to her, it somehow seemed to interfere with other active drones. 3 drones who came to deliver gifts to Mizzen were now circling above him, bumping into one another and into the boy, as if attempting to repeat the same delivery. To make matters worse, his mentor had just sent 3 extra drones that appeared to be hacked by Tesley as well. The swarm of drones caused Mizzen to lose balance, plummeting to his death. I bet it was humiliating for the capital, seeing someone from the districts controlling their own military weapons better than they do. While appearing satisfied with her clever work, Tesley's moment of glory was short-lived. Taking advantage of how focused she was on the drone, Treach climbed down the stands, and with a jump, carved his axe right in the back of Tesley's skull. With this, he was also able to claim all the sponsored gifts that were about to be delivered to her. And just like that, only 3 were left. Treach from District 7, Reaper from District 11, and Lucy Gray from District 12. From the 3, only Reaper was moving around, having ripped apart another capital flag to cover Tesley and Mizzen, who were just added to the row of bodies. Moments later, Lucy Gray emerged from the tunnels. She crouched by the puddle Reaper drank from to wash her face and collect some water in a bottle. Suddenly, Treach came out of his hiding spot and grabbed Lucy Gray by the wrist, just before raising his axe. Instead of retreating, Lucy Gray flung into his arms in order to avoid the blade, confusing the boy. What he expected even less, however, was what came next. The girl had one of the rainbow snakes hidden in her dress, and in the embrace, released the mud onto his neck. In a panic, Treach dropped the axe, grabbed the reptile, and smashed it on the ground until both the tribute and the snake fell dead. Reaper had still been sitting by the stands. Despite there being only 2 left, he did not seem motivated to come down and fight. Lucy Gray took the time to organize her supplies as more gifts kept flying in. The hottest hours of the day caused some puddles to dry out as the time passed, until Lucy Gray became impatient. Wanting a reaction out of Reaper, she grabbed Treach's body to bring to his morgue. The boy got up that exact same second, shouting something to her before coming down. Seeing the boy move, Lucy Gray retreated to the tunnels, leaving the audience confused. Reaper then took over the job of moving Treach. After covering the boy, he started making his way back to the stands, when suddenly, Lucy Gray came out from another tunnel and removed one of the flag pieces covering the bodies, running away with it. Reaper chased after her, but once she escaped from his sight, the boy gave up and instead ripped off another flag as a substitute. Once more, Lucy Gray came out of the hiding and repeated the exact same thing, this time bringing the stolen flag to the center of the arena before climbing up the stands. Reaper was angry now, as the girl kept provoking him to run after her and tire himself out. Once he managed to recover the flag, it was visible how the hot sun, together with this extra physical effort, had been affecting him, causing him to pant rapidly. Exhausted and thirsty, the boy crouched by a puddle and drank the little water that hadn't evaporated yet. Shortly after, he brought his fingers to his chest, as his body forced him to vomit all the water he just drank. Reaper got up and staggered towards his morgue, with the recovered flag in hand, when he suddenly collapsed. He dragged himself closer to the bodies, tried his best to pull the flag over them, then he went still. People waited in anticipation, trying to figure out if he really was dead. They knew it could all be pretending, and the game makers could not risk a false announcement. It took half an hour until Lucy Gray gathered the courage to confirm it herself, climbing down the stands to check his pulse. It was now clear, for the very few able to connect the dots, that the girl was the one behind the poisonings. After all, she had touched the water from that exact same puddle, yet she was fine. First Wovey, now Reaper. The girl followed by closing his eyelids and arranging the flag properly over the bodies, which gave a green light to the game makers, as Reaper was, in fact, dead. Lucy Gray Baird, from District 12, was then announced victor of the 10th Annual Hunger Games. Due to tragic capital deaths associated with this year, and the cheating involved, which was rumored to have been facilitated by her dear mentor Snow, there are no records left of her victory, and her story is nothing but rumors and whispers, held by the few that happen to watch everything on live television. Likewise, no one really knows for sure what happened to her after she got back to District 12. What do you believe her fate was?